Hey folks, welcome to winter. Oh my goodness. So, I think this started Sunday. So if it started Sunday, then today's day 6. It started out as freezing rain. It was pretty nuts. So it just kind of gave everything a frozen base. And then it turned into snow. We've had 2 Alberta clippers come through, dumping on us, and everything in between that and after that has been snow squalls, which we're still getting right now. Thankfully, most of it's the south of us, so we're just kind of getting the edge. We're just getting light flurries, but still got a chance of more snow today. Everything's supposed to end tonight, finally. But it's been crazy. Oh, mind, I'm not going out anyway. So, today is 1 month anniversary of Smokey's passing. It blows my mind. It's so fresh in my mind. It still feels like it's only been a few days. But December 2nd, and today is January 2nd, so it's been a full month. Don't you fall over. I can't believe it's been a whole month already. Yeah, I'm not getting any better, I'm actually getting worse. So I'm going to talk about the cats in my life, and I will end with probably my final message on YouTube. Grade 2, I was 6 years old. And one of the girls in my class, her cat had kittens, and she was looking for anybody who might want a cat. So of course I did. Why wouldn't I, right? So she had one specific one that she already had picked out. She told me it was already named. And I asked what it looked like, and she said it was striped. So I'm picturing a tiger, right? So I figured, okay, I'll change the name to Tiger when I get it. So, kid's mind, right? So I went to pick her up. Yeah, she's striped, but she's gray striped. She's light gray with dark gray stripes. Okay, so ended up staying with the name Ginger, anyways. But I went to her place after school. She put the kitten in a box, and I carried the box home. And, well, before that, she asked me, she said, you sure your parents said it was okay? I said, yep, lied. Never even asked my parents. And I said, yeah, no problem. So she put it in the box, carried the box all the way home, meowing. Let me out, let me out. And, well, I was able to keep the cat. And I have so many memories of her. She was amazing. Amazing as in she put up with everything I put her through as a kid. In the winter time, I had this red toboggan that I'd drag behind me with, I put the cat on it, and I put a laundry basket over top. It looked like a cruise liner, cruise ship. And I'd drag her around the yard on this toboggan. And so she's under the laundry basket, so she can't run away if she wants to, right? And I had a tractor with I think it was a hay wagon that it used to tow behind it. I think that's what it was. It was an open hopper type wagon anyways. I used to put her in it and drag her around the floor. Not drag her, but drive her around the floor. And I remember my dad laughing at that she'd put up with it. She's sweeping the floor with her tail as I'm going, right? So she obviously, I know now, she obviously didn't enjoy that. But like I said, she put up with it. Every once in a while she'd slowly try to stand up and stick her paw out, and I go, no, you don't. Put it back in. She'd settle back down and says, okay, I guess we're not done yet. But like I say, she put up with all that. And I got some pretty good pictures of her. I don't have much in my computer. because most of it's, digital photography didn't really exist back then. So I think that was the 70s. But I have a lot of pictures. Unfortunately, the box that I have all my photographs in got wet, so they're all stuck together and they have like water stains on them. I have the negatives, but I've got so many negatives, it would take forever to go through them. I figured out where her pictures are, but I do have some, even with the water stains on them, I can still show them. She was a beautiful cat. I really liked her. She had kittens, 5. My sister named, there was Salt and Pepper, Roxy, which was a tortoiseshell, Muffin, which was a long-haired tortoiseshell, like tortoiseshell Persian type cat. She kept for herself until she passed. And Muffin, Roxy, Salt and Pepper, there's another one. It was an orange cat. I'm actually surprised I remember those names. I don't remember what she named the orange one. There was one more anyways. But time went by, I grew up, and I went to college. Cat had to stay behind, obviously. And when I was in college, my roommate wanted a cat, so we went to the animal shelter, I guess. And they had a bunch of caged cats in there, and they had these 2 little kittens that were both completely black. One of them was at the front door, meowing, sticking its paw out, pick me, and the other one was just sitting silently in the back. So I decided, I want that black one. I want that silent black one that's just sitting there not begging. So we went to the bank machine, and along the way we decided we were going to take both black ones. They look like brothers, let's keep them together, right? So by the time we got back there, somebody had picked one of the black ones, and I don't remember which one. So only one black one was left, and we had already made a decision for 2, so we grabbed another one. It was an orange cat. So I decided the black one's mine, orange one's his. I called mine Paddington, because when I get to choose the names for my cats, I choose unique names. I don't give them the same names like Fluffy and Pounce or whatever, right? I give them unique names, and a lot of times it's based on what I'm watching on TV at the time. So I called mine Paddington, and he called his, he was from Newfoundland, he was a Newfie, so he called his Cucaslin, which I guess is an Irish name. I'm not sure what it stands for. I called him Cootie. So the cats were Patty and Cootie. And they were sweet cat. The black one was pretty sweet. He stuck with me everywhere I went. And unfortunately, when I left, I was going back to my parents' house. I didn't have anywhere else to go yet, so I went back to my parents' house. Couldn't take the cats with me. Well, he'd already gone back to Newfoundland. He wasn't making it, so I adopted his cats, so now I had 2 cats. And of course, when I was going back to my parents, I couldn't take them with me. And the rest of the guys, I still hate myself for it. Getting a cat under those circumstances, when you know it's only going to be temporary, right? But the other guys there, I was sharing a house with like 6 other people. Right? We were all college students, except for one. He was a mailman. It's kind of an odd combination. But they agreed to take him in, and that's how that went from there. So finally moved out of my parents' house, and I just wanted to get out. I wanted freedom. My dad was strict. I think I've talked about that before. I respected him. I respected what he was trying to say, trying to do in that. But I just, at that time, now I was 21? 2. Maybe 23. I think I might have been 23. And I just wanted my freedom. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. So I moved into a motel room just so I could get out. I was there for a while, and then I went to a different one out of town. I had a car at this time, so I went to a different motel out in the country. It used to be a motel, now it's just kind of rental units. It was a busy highway at one point in time, but when they put the 403 extension through to divert all the traffic away from town, that highway just kind of, lost all its traffic. So it couldn't function as a motel anymore. So it was just rental units, and I moved into there. And I was there for a while, and one of my friends was moving to BC. That was always a dream of mine. I always wanted to move to BC. And where he was going was just perfect. It was this little village. I don't know if it's a mining town or a logging town, but just a little village, golden, up in the mountains. It was perfect, exactly what I was looking for. And I had the opportunity, I wasn't going to pass it up. So we moved there. And he found a place of his own, stole half my stuff when he left, and then denied it. So one day when he was at work, I went back to his place, talked to his roommate, and I said, yep, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. So I got a lot of my stuff back. And one of our mutual friend that lived there in the same complex area, it was like, it was set up almost like a motel. It was a wooden structure, not log buildings, but it was like, I don't know how to explain it. Maybe tongue and groove pine, I guess, on the outside. It was really nice looking. There was the main building when you come in, then the propane tanks, then there was another building, and on the other side there was like an S-shaped building. That's where I lived, in this little S-shape, right, the second unit, actually middle unit in that last section. So our mutual friend lived in the corner one, and I was visiting him one day, and he showed me this thing, and he says, you interested in this? I'm not even sure what it is. I says, yeah, I'm interested in that. That used to be mine. It's a hand drill. It's got, you put a drill bit in it, and you tighten the, I guess, chuck. It's just a handheld thing, right? Like almost like a mini screwdriver. And then you twist by hand. Well, apparently my friend had given it to him. He didn't know what it was. Then why did he steal it? Like, it made no sense. He stole all my empty hangers. Some of the stuff that he stole, it just did not make sense. Why would he steal it, right? Especially if you had no idea what it was. But I think I've talked about this before. I remember this part. If you accuse somebody of stealing, especially if it's your friend, he's gonna freak out, right? Not him. And he says, I don't have your stuff. And that's pretty much how he said it, right? It's like, yeah, okay, that's guilty right there. But I got a lot of it back. He even stole some of my clothes, so I wasn't not too impressed. But anyway, so there was this girl that lived there. She wasn't mentally impaired, but she had mental issues. And it was pretty obvious, but like, she's lived on her own, so she's functional. She was okay that way, and she used to visit me quite a bit. And one day she knocked on my door, and she brought this little black and white fur ball. Apparently there's a cat that had babies out at the propane tank. She snatched one and wanted to give it to me. So I took it in, and I was watching National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation at the time. So he got named Griswold. Beautiful, beautiful cat, but really hard to photograph. It was pure white and pure black, and it really clashed. The camera didn't know how to adjust for that. But it was weird because it looked like it had a mustache and that. whatever I'm talking about, I'll try to put pictures up on the screen here, whatever I can find. I've only got photographs of him, but like I lived there a year and a half, 15 months actually, and problem is, I was where I wanted to be. I loved it there. It was just an absolutely beautiful place to live. But I was alone. I missed all my friends back home. It wouldn't be a problem for me today because I like being alone now anyways. But back then, I missed my friends. I'd write letters to them and that, but like we'd write letters back and forth. But I missed hanging out with them. And calling was very expensive. It was like 52 cents a minute. So that was kind of crazy. So I ended up moving back to Ontario. And again, I was moving back with my parents until I could find a place. And again, I couldn't bring the cat with me. So I put an ad in the paper. I described what she looked like, and immediately, like that morning, I started getting calls. So somebody took him in, and hopefully he led a happy life after that. But he was just a beautiful cat. Yeah, I'll stop with that. But I missed him. I missed his company. He was just pretty sweet. So I moved out again. Moved back into the motel where I moved out of my parents' place to begin with. I even got the same room. And one of my friends was living, well actually a couple of my friends was living in a house that was separated into apartments. So I had one friend living on the main level. I had another friend that had the top, and another friend had the main level at the back. It was 4 apartments altogether. Apartment number 4, somebody moved out of and was available, so I moved in there. It was a basement apartment. And that's where I spent 9 years on welfare because of my back. Rent was $495 a month, everything included, which was awesome. And I was getting $520 a month for welfare. And I lived like that for 9 years, like I said. From 1991 to year 2000. So, okay, I'm going to pause here. This chair is not all that comfortable. Okay, I just took a break. So, I lived there for a little while, not long at all. And at the beginning there, I've always suffered from depression, but it just kind of got made worse. Because my friend told me once that he envied me because I had time to do whatever I wanted. And I says, yeah, well, that may be true, but I don't have any money to do anything I want. So, it was just crazy. And the worst part for me was getting stuff for Christmas and I couldn't give anything back. I hated that so much. That's why I'm so giving now. I'd rather give than receive. Just mainly for that reason, because I spent all those years receiving and not being able to give, right? So, everything's different now. Before my dad died, our Christmases, everybody had their own families, everybody grew up, getting married and that, except for me. I never will. I don't want to get married. I never have wanted to. I like the single life, do what I want, nobody to answer to. But anyways, everybody had their own families, and it was just getting too expensive. So we decided we weren't going to exchange gifts anymore. It was just going to be a family gathering. It was awesome. And then, once my dad died, my mother is Jehovah's Witness, and, well, I didn't see this, but my dad was atheist, my mother was Jehovah's Witness. That's how I grew up. And, like I said, I didn't see this, but I've been told by my sister about some clashes, but I never saw the clashes. You know, they just never talked about it in front of us, anyways. So it was never a big deal to me. But after my dad died, my mother basically, she was free to do what she wanted now as far as religion goes, and she saw the state of the world, you know, the way I'm seeing it, and she suddenly got super religious, right? And Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate anything, so we no longer had a Christmas gathering, right? They still do the family reunions at different places. It has nothing to do with any specific day of the year, though. It's just a family gathering, which is kind of cool. I miss being able to go down there. I wish I had a vehicle so I could, but it's not meant to be right now. So, anyways, after I lost my car, I haven't been able to do that. I haven't been able to go, but, you know, they don't do that anymore. So anyways, I'm getting off topic. So, that turned out to be a really bad time in my life. I was suicidal for a period of time, which will never happen again. But a friend came by, and he was having issues, different situation, depression type issues. I can't remember what it was, but it doesn't matter anyways. Just he was having issues, so we went for a walk. And we walked for a while, and just out of the blue, this cat showed up and started following us. No idea where it came from. It just all of a sudden we heard a noise and we looked, and there's this cat following us. So didn't speak to it, didn't pet it, didn't give it any attention whatsoever, and it just kept following us. The only time we spoke to it is if it went out on the road when there's a car coming. We're telling, get off the road, you're gonna get yourself run over. That's the only thing we ever said to this cat. And it followed us all the way back to my place. And after a while, my friend left, and I'm sitting there, didn't let it in or anything, just ignored it. And I was sitting there watching TV, and I look up at the window, which is, like, because I was in the basement, so the window was at, like, sidewalk level, up at the top of the wall. And I see these two eyeballs reflecting light into the window. So I walk over to the door, and it goes running. I open the door, and there's this cat again. He comes in. So I let him sniff around, and it went on for a little while. He sniffed pretty much everything, and then he wanted back out, so I let him out. And the next morning I wake up, he's still in the window. So I let him in again. I gave him something to eat, because obviously he'd been there all night. So I think, what did I have at that time? I think it was a can of tuna, actually, that I got from the food bank. I can't, tuna makes me sick. I'll puke if I try to eat that stuff. So I gave it to him. He ate the whole can, and he did some more sniffing around. He wanted outside, so I let him out, and I'm watching him. And he marks his territory on the step. I said, oh, I guess this is his home now. He's marking his territory. And he became mine. He would not leave my side. He'd go out for quite a while. Quite often, I should say. I didn't have a screen on my screen door, so I'd leave the inside, because it's like maybe 6 feet between the screen door, outside screen door, and the inside wooden door. So in the summertime, I'd leave that wooden door open, and he'd just jump through the hole where the screen's supposed to be. Right? He'd come and go as he pleased. And this cat was absolutely amazing. He was a chartreux, the only cat that I've had that I know the breed of. And if you Google a chartreux, if you watch any videos on chartreux, everything that they explain, like characteristics of a chartreux, that was him. He had all of them. It was absolutely amazing cat. He was like pure gray, and when the sunlight hit him, his fur would turn into a rainbow. It was just absolutely beautiful cat. I don't have any pictures of him at the beginning, but I did get some when I was living in a trailer. I got my first digital cameras. I got a few pictures of him, but at that point, he'd had surgery. I came home from work one day, and I walked in, and he's looking at me. Something just didn't look right with him. So I had a closer look at him. His ears were like balloons. They were just ballooned out. So I took him to the vet, and they said what happened. He had ear mites. So the vet said what happened is he's scratching just from the head shaking. He broke all the blood vessels in his ears, and his ears were all swollen up. So he had to have surgery, which gave him bull's ears, which is, it's fine. It's not going to hurt him any, but it's just, if he's a show cat, right, as they put it, then he's not going to be able to do that anymore. He's not going to be the star of the show, because the tops of his ears were kind of flopped down now, which, like bulls, right, from his surgery, because they had to cut them open and drain them and that. But that's the only pictures I have of him when I was in the trailer. And I just, that camera wasn't very good at indoor. The best picture I have of him is outside, laying in the garbage. Of course, that was outside, so it was a lot better. But he was just a beautiful cat. He was so unique. He was the most unique cat I've ever had in my life. I had a waterbed at the time because I wanted the heat for my back because of my spinal issues. And I'm not sure if I didn't put enough fungicide, algicide, whatever it is that you put in them to keep the algae from growing. But it developed air bubbles, and he'd run around on it, you know, trying to grab the air bubbles. And one day he was laying on the end of the bed up against the wooden footboard, and I slapped down on the bed, and he went flying. He come running back, laid down in the exact same spot. And I thought, oh, you want me to do it again? So I jumped down on the bed, launched him again, and he kept coming back. He loved it. He wanted me to do it again. Oh, I just got a notification that was loud. It was awesome. He loved that. So the other thing, the main thing that made him stand out was he would play fetch. And I still have his patooey. Get your mind out of the gutter. His patooey is this little round rubber ball. I would throw it into the kitchen. He'd launch after it. It would bounce off the cupboard and come back. He'd slam the brakes on. He'd slide into the cupboard and come running back. He'd catch the ball. He'd bring it back and spit it out at my feet. Patooey. That's how I called it, his patooey. And I'd throw it again. He'd go out and he'd bring it back, spit it out at my feet. It was awesome. He loved it. And I've always been heavily into electronics. I take things apart. I keep the parts. I'd experiment when I'm making things. I'd use all these old parts, and then once I got something that was working, I'd buy brand new parts and replace the old parts. So I always kept all these old. I had gears and all these robotic mechanisms and stuff, and drive belts, resistors, diodes, capacitors, everything. I had all kinds of stuff. I even had a mercury switch, which I think I still have. Yes, I think I still have it. I can't remember what it was from. I used to pick stuff out of the garbage. I had an old answering machine, old mechanical answering machine with the 2 tape reels on it. I got some really old parts out of that. I can't think where the mercury switch would have came from. But I'm pretty sure I still have. I kept it because you can't buy them anymore. They just don't exist anymore because of their use in, you know. That's the best way to put it on YouTube. IEDs. So I'm not sure where it is. I have an idea. It'll be up in my room. I have an idea where it might be. But don't matter anyway. But I still have. I kept it just because, you know, you can't get them anymore. So, anyways, I had boxes and boxes and boxes. And I had a box full of wires. I had these 2 wires a black one and a white one, and they were twisted around each other. Well, he picked that out of the box. That was his toy. He decided that's what he wanted to play with. And he played with that thing for years. Always. So I still have that. I have... Oh no, I'll get into that. But it was just an amazing cat. And I was laying there watching TV one day, laying on the couch, and I had the coffee table. It's got a cabinet on each end and an open area in the middle. He was laying in the middle part, sleeping. And we had an earthquake. Now, I lived on the main road. The sewers were sunken, the manhole covers were sunken down, and when the bus would go by, I could just thump, thump. Like I could feel it, right, in the ground. But this was different. This was a side-to-side motion. I can't even describe it. It was like nothing else I've ever felt. And all of a sudden I hear this loud crack, and I was about to run for the door, and it stopped. He's still sleeping away. He never even woke up. He didn't even notice. Most animals know ahead of time. You know, before the earthquake happens, they'll start to react, right? But not him. He slept right through it. If I remember correctly, that's when that earthquake was Ottawa. In the Ottawa area. But I felt it. And it was pretty wild. But I couldn't believe he actually slept through it. Especially that loud crack sound. I don't want to know what that was. But never woke up for it. So then I got sick of the city. I got sick of the people there. I didn't feel safe going out anymore. So moved up to the boonies, out in the middle of nowhere. And at this time I had a second cat. Oh yeah, I forgot. I named him Nikita. Why Nikita? Because I was watching a movie at the time called Little Nikita. Like I say, they tend to get named after, you know, TV shows and whatever that I'm watching. Well, somebody out front, I won't get into the whole story, but he wasn't paying his rent. He got evicted. And he had to move in with somebody, and he had a cat. Beautiful, beautiful female cat. I don't have any pictures of her at all, sadly. And her name was Pretty Girl. So if you ever hear me talk about Pretty Girl, I didn't name her. She was named. It was appropriate. She was a very pretty cat. So he asked me if I could take care of her until, you know, he found a place, and then he'd come back and get her. So he gave me a bag of food and a bag of kitty litter. I think he came back once to see her. That was it. I never saw him again. So she was my adopted cat, my foster cat as I called her. But I was moving. I had no way of getting a hold of him. So I couldn't tell him. I said, well, you know, come get your cat, or, you know, you're not going to know where I am anymore. So I kept her. And I moved out of my friend's place to another place. And that's when I was living in Chesley, in the apartment in the back. And that's when Nikita got his swollen ears. And she was sitting beside me one day, grooming, and I looked at her tummy. Her tummy was pink and swollen. And I'm thinking, hey, she's pregnant. Because Nikita, she was a very, very conniving cat, okay? She was sweet. When she'd start licking my arm, or my wrist down here, whatever. If I tried to pull my arm away, she'd grab it and say, nope, not done yet, right? And she'd keep licking. She would not let me pull my arm away until she was finished licking my arm. She was pretty sweet that way. But she was very conniving. She'd pretend to be in heat, and then when Nikita went for her, she'd attack him, right? I was like, oh, it was so funny. So I kind of got to the impression, I'm not sure if she was fixed or not, but he did nail her a few times, and she never got pregnant. So I figured she couldn't get pregnant. Maybe she was fixed or whatever. But I couldn't believe. I'm watching her. I'm thinking, don't fall for it, Nikita. Don't fall for it. Right? And but she'd do it. Right? He'd go for it, and then she'd attack him. It was so funny to watch. But anyways, I saw this, and I'm thinking, hey, she's pregnant. And then I got looking at it and said, wait a minute. that's not her whole stomach that's swollen. It's just this one spot. Like maybe the size of an orange. I'm thinking, oh, that's not good. So I took her to the vet, and just like I thought, she had breast cancer. So, paid for the operation. Well, not paid for it, but had the operation. And he told me that, you know, once they did a biopsy or whatever, once they opened her up, they knew what they were looking for. So they started looking, they found 3 more lumps. So, taken care of. Everything was good. And I moved into the trailer. And I'm not sure how much time had passed, but her cancer came back again. I was still paying for the first round of the first operation, so I couldn't afford to add to it. So I had to have her put down. That was really sad. That was hard for me to do, but you know, had to be done, right? I couldn't let her suffer. So I lost her, and that was before I had my digital camera, so I never got a single picture of her, which is sad because she was so beautiful. So I was back to just Nikita and I again. And the thing with Nikita is he had issues. The problem with chartreuse is they're notorious for having kidney issues, and he did. He'd be fine for like a while, and maybe every month, every couple months, he'd start puking for several days straight because the toxins in his body would build up. I gotta take another break soon. My back is killing me with this chair. So, you know, I just had to deal with it, right? And he'd be fine for another month or 2, and then it would happen again. So, this went on for a while. And then I moved out of the trailer into my friend's basement, which didn't last long because he turned out to be not so nice person. And he just got really, really sick. And he was, before he'd throw up, he'd come out, like he would just howl. Like he was in so much pain, or not pain, but he was suffering so much. So I took him back to the vet again, and his kidneys had failed completely. And that's when I had to put him down. Okay, so I knew I wasn't going to get through this video without crying, but I haven't even got to Smokey yet. So that was really, really difficult for me. That was 2002. No, that was 2006. And I got Nikita in 1994. And I can't remember month to month, but it was 11 years anyways that he was with me. He was my best friend for 11 years. And I called him my angel because he showed up at a suicidal point in my life when I needed him. And he was there with me the whole time. And he was my favorite cat. I loved him so much. And it was so hard to make that decision to say goodbye to him, but I did. So not long after that, I moved in with Michelle, her husband, and the boys. And I think I don't really remember now, but I think it was that first year. Moved in June. I think it was, I was at the smoke shop anyways with Michelle. And I got looking at their display case. They had all kinds of different things. But I found this. I'll show you a close-up of this, but this is Nikita. It's a cat with angel wings. It looks exactly like him. I don't remember what I paid for it. I think it was like $11, but as soon as I saw it, I had to have it. I had to. And I'll never get rid of it. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's pewter. And he's got wings and he's got a halo. My angel cat. But I never finished the story of Ginger, my first cat. When I was in BC, she was having problems jumping up onto the furniture, and my dad kind of thought she had arthritis. So he took her to the vet, and it turned out she had a tumor, a very large tumor inside her. So they had to have her put down. And she was in the family for 21 years. And it bothered me, well, not bothered's not the right word. It saddened me that I didn't get to say goodbye to her, because I was still living in BC at the time. So I never got to say goodbye to her, but I would not want my parents to hold on to her until I got back. That wouldn't have been fair to her. Till they did what needed to be done. 21 years, that's the longest I've heard of a cat living. Like, that I know. I've heard, I guess you could say, that they've lived longer, but like 27, 28 years. But that's the longest cat that I know has lived that long. 21 years. But Nikita was special. She meant so much to me. He meant so much to me. And it was really hard on me. I cried every day for a month. At least a month. That was January 2006. When I was having all my other issues. I had the month off of work. Mid-December to mid-January, because I had surgery on my foot. I moved from the trailer to there. I got the worst flu of my life. It lasted like a week. It was horrible. All these things all came together. I think that's when my fibromyalgia started, right after that. Nikita dying was the last straw, I think. And my body just said, I can't handle this. So I moved in with them. They had a dog. And he had heart issues. And he was on, I think he was on heart medication. I don't remember. I think he was. But when we'd go out, he had to be locked up in the basement because he'd get into everything. And the neighbors, before I moved in with them, the neighbors told them that dog barks the entire time that they're gone. We'd come home. He's in the basement. He's tied up to like a steel support beam, concrete floor, and there's this fan of saliva that the dog left just from barking. So as soon as he gets free, he runs upstairs and goes right straight to the water bowl. Well, he did that one day, and it was too much for him. His heart gave out on him. He was panting really bad. And if you touch him, he was cold to the touch. His body wasn't generating heat anymore. And he climbed to the top of the steps. We kind of figured it was... He could see every direction from up there. It was kind of his guard shack, where he could, watch out over everybody. And Michelle and I sat with him, and he just took his last breath, and that was it. He was done. And it was hard. I hate dogs, so it didn't bother me as much as if it was a cat, but it was still, it still hit me hard. Because I love all animals. As much as I hate dogs, I don't like to see them suffer, and I don't want to see them die, right? Because I used to tell people, it's like, most people, when they're driving, if a dog runs out in front of them or whatever, they'll hit a hydro pole trying to avoid it. I said, I'd hit the hydro pole trying to hit it, but, you know, that's not true. That's just my way of expressing that I don't like dogs. I would never do that. In fact, I did hit a dog once. Actually, it hit me. We were kind of driving out in the country, and these two dogs come running out of nowhere, one chasing the other, straight across the highway. The first one kept going, the second one realized, oh crap, I'm on the road, and turned around and came back, and by that time I was there, and he ran into my driver's door. So technically he hit me, and I felt so bad. So we went up the laneway and told the owner, you know, what had happened, and he looked down and he seemed okay. So, but I felt so bad. So he was gone. So we didn't have any pets for a little while. And then the boy's friend who lived in town, they had a cat. It was a rescue cat. I can't remember where they got him from. I'm not going to get into the story of what was happening to him, but he was a rescue cat. He wouldn't have lived very long if he stayed where he was. So they took him in. And then they moved to Guelph. Yeah, we go down there and visit them once in a while. And then she had another baby, and for whatever reason, the cat was attacking this baby, and they had to get rid of it. So they asked us, and we took him in. That's how we got Scooby. I got some nice pictures of Scooby. I don't have all of them in my computer, but I did have some really nice ones. My favorite one, I'm not sure if it's in my computer, so I'll show it to you on my phone. I just get rid of all my notifications. Okay, I hope I have it, but I'm not sure how well you can see that. Not at all now. But I will. Actually, I think I have this. Well, obviously I have this in my phone. Let me just take a quick look. Okay. I have it set as my home screen picture, but it's not in my photos, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to retrieve it. I might have it in my, I'll see if I can find it in my computer, because I have up to 2015 in my computer of all my pictures. We got Smokey in 2011, and we had the two together. I don't know, I'll see if I can find it anyway, so I can show you the actual picture, not just through the phone, because I'm not sure how the camera would have picked that up. But anyway, we had Scooby for a while. Scooby was pretty cool. He'd been declawed, so he didn't have claws, front claws, and he'd play. Oh, he was so playful. He'd be on my bed, and he'd be doing this on the bed, and he'd be jumping around like, I don't know how to explain it. But it was funny watching him. He was a pretty sweet cat. But he started spending all his time in my bedroom, because I was spending all my time in my bedroom on the computer, and it was a nice quiet spot, and he just wanted to be with me. So Michelle decided to get another puppy. So that's where Dexter came in, the black dog. And once he got a little bit older, a little more energetic, because when we first got him, he was like sleeping all the time. But after a while, you know, he'd sit with Ken all the time. So Michelle kind of got feeling a little bit lonely. So she decided to get another cat, one that she could call her own. So that's where Smokey came in. And for the longest time, he was her cat. I called him Sputnik for a little while because he was a space case. He was psychotic when we first got him. He was a strange cat. He was awesome, but he was... You ever seen Garfield on the window screen, right? I used to have one of those stuffed animals with the suction cup. You stick it to your window. He used to do that on the side of the couch. And Smokey's laying on the arm of the couch. He's loafing. You know how they have their front paws? They look like a loaf of bread with a head. It's called loafing. He's doing that and his tail's hanging down. Smokey's on the side of the couch clinging to it. He's playing with his tail, right? And this cat, he used to run into walls. He'd run full speed up onto the couch, run across the wall, because he's got so much speed going, he can actually stay on the wall for a while. Come down the other side, run another lap around the house, come back, do it again. He was insane. It's an absolutely insane cat. And he'd misjudge sometimes, and he'd run straight into the wall. It's pretty funny. But he'd lay upside down on Michelle's lap, and she's got her stainless steel flea comb, and she's grooming him, getting all the fleas off him. He loved it. He's just laying there with his eyes closed, purring away. He's the only cat that I've ever known that likes belly rubs. And he'll lay upside down, and he'll wait for you to do it, and he's just, loved his belly rubs. And when he was young, shortly after we first got him, I keep saying her, when I'm sitting at my computer, I'm sitting on the end of my bed. I got the computer desk here, and I'm waiting for the computer or something. I'll have my hands behind me on the bed, leaning back, and he's curled around my hand, so my hand's against his belly, right? He loved his belly contact, and he never lost that. So he was pretty cool, but he started hanging around Scooby a lot, and because Scooby was spending all his time in my room, Smokey started spending all his time in my room. And I'm not sure how or why, but somehow he started to become afraid of everybody. Nobody abused him or anything. We don't know why it happened. But he'd go downstairs and he'd run past everybody out to the kitchen, to his litter box, or food or whatever, and then he'd come running back upstairs. And the only thing I can think of is because Scooby and I were spending all our time upstairs, then we must be avoiding everybody else. So Smokey decided he needed to. I have no idea what happened, why. Like I said, nobody was abusing him. He was never abused. He just started being afraid of everybody. And it was pretty bad, really. I have no explanation for it. And then Scooby, the best way to put it, he stopped grooming. I guess that's probably the easiest way to put it. And his nose got dirty. His whole snout actually was dirty. And I never understood why. It's like, what did you get into, dude? That was the first symptom that something was wrong, but it didn't seem like anything was wrong. He was normal. He acted normal. Everything was the same. Come in the washroom with me, and he acted normal. And then I noticed he was losing weight. I was like, okay, that's not normal. He was a chubby cat. I called him a cow. He looked like a cow because he was chubby. But he started losing weight, like, noticeably. And it's just, okay, something is wrong. So he was on my bed one day, and I went to give him a treat. He liked Temptations. He loved Temptations. Apparently he pretty much lived off them before we got him. So I gave him some. He tried to eat it. He couldn't eat it. So I got thinking, well, maybe he's got a toothache. He can't eat. He's got a broken tooth or something. So he can't eat. And that's why he's losing weight, right? So I gave him something else soft. I think it was Pounce. Some kind of soft treats anyways. I figured, well, maybe this will be easier for him to eat. So he tried. And he'd get it in his mouth, and he'd trying to chew, and it would fall back out of his mouth, and basically the handful that I gave him, he turned it into mush. He was trying to eat it. He couldn't eat it. I had no idea why. But he got frustrated and ran away. So he had some kind of problem. So I made an appointment with the vet. You can't just take cats into the vet anymore. It's stupid. You have to make an appointment now. Unless it's an emergency, then you have to go to an animal hospital. I don't even know where they are anymore. So the place I took Smokey to in Listowel, it's an animal hospital. It's the only one that I know of. But we took him to the vet the next day, and his whole mouth was almost swollen shut from cancer. So I explained why he stopped grooming, and I explained why he couldn't eat, because his mouth was swollen. So we had to put him down. That was tough. So Smokey's by himself now. I'm gonna say Smokey was my least favorite cat. I didn't dislike him in any way. He was just my least favorite. He just wasn't as enjoyable, I guess you could say, as the other cats were. And he did a lot of things that were annoying. So I don't feel bad about saying that. He was my least favorite cat. I miss him so much. I loved him so much, but he did have some things that were unique. Loving his belly rubs was one. He knew how to open doors. That wasn't really completely unique, because Scooby knew how to open doors, and I actually watched Scooby teach him how to open the bedroom door. It was so. I wish I could have got that on video. I actually watched him, as he'd paw at it, and he'd pull it open, then he'd push it close, and he'd sit back, and then Smokey would go at it. Couldn't figure it out, so Scooby would do it again. He'd put his paw around it, pull it open, close it again, and then Smokey figured it out. So Scooby taught Smokey how to open doors. It was awesome watching it. I really wish I would have got that on video. It took like maybe 15 minutes for Smokey to understand how to open a door. And he never lost that. He'd open cupboard doors looking for mice. He'd open bedroom doors. He'd open the washroom door. As long as the door's not latched, he'll get it open. It's not like he can reach up and grab the doorknob. So that's sort of kind of unique, but like I say, Scooby knew how to do that too. Smokey is the only cat I've ever had that would eat mice. That was unique. He wouldn't just catch them, play with them till they died. Scooby was good at catching mice, but he wouldn't eat them. He'd play with them till they stopped moving, then he'd get bored and move on. And Scooby, no, he'd catch them, and he'd eat them. So that was unique. What else? When he was a kitten, he'd follow me into the washroom. And if I just gotta pee, I'll stand there. He'll jump up on the tub. He'll walk around the shower curtain. He'd come out the other end and he'd watch me. And when I'm finished, I'd flush the toilet. And after a while, he understood that routine. So one day, I'm in there. He's sitting there watching, and as soon as I finish, he reaches up for the flush knob. I thought he was going to flush the toilet for me. It was awesome, but no, he grabbed the handle. He knew that was coming next. So I warned Michelle. I said, don't be surprised if you hear the toilet flush in the middle of the night. Smokey's figured it out. So that was unique. I kind of think there was one other thing that he used to do that was unique. The only thing I can think of is snoring. I think he had some kind of breathing issue, because he's the only cat I knew that would snore. And if he'd hiss, he'd snort after he hissed. So I think he had some kind of breathing issue. But he's the only cat that I've ever had that actually snored when he was sleeping. But he was amazing. I loved him. He was a great cat. But one of the reasons, like I say, some other things he did that annoyed me. He used to bully Scooby. He'd grab him by the back of the neck, and Scooby would meow. I was like, leave me alone. But he'd torment him all the time. And I didn't like that. Like, they got along. It's like, you know, Scooby didn't avoid him or anything. It's just every once in a while, Smokey would just get that urge to just pick on him. And I hated it. But I don't know why he did it. But they'd sleep together all the time. They'd groom each other. And, you know, they got along. It just, for whatever reason, he just liked to bully him. But we moved to Wingham. And it was really difficult for Smokey. He was freaked. Everything in the house was disappearing. He didn't understand what was going on. He was so scared. And it was so difficult for me to get him into his character? Into his carrier. He was freaking out. He basically turned wild. And I had scratches all over me. I lost a bit of blood. Just to get him. I said, we have to leave, buddy. You can't stay here by yourself. But, you know, it freaked him out. And I couldn't stay with him. I had one more run to do. So I had to leave him in Wingham on his own, which I didn't want to do. But I left him in my room. I left the door open to his cage. And I wouldn't be able to be with him till the next day. So he was by himself in this strange place. I felt so bad, but, you know. So we got the next run, our final trip, and as soon as we got there, I went upstairs. Bedroom door was open. He opened it. I couldn't find him anywhere, and we looked everywhere in the house. Could not find him. And he wouldn't have gone outside. He would not go outside. He was afraid to go outside. He was not an outdoor cat at all. So I knew he was in the house somewhere, but I just couldn't find him. And he was gone for about 24 hours, or missing for about 24 hours. And then Zach woke me up. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning. He says, Smokey's in my room. So we didn't have our bed set up yet, so everybody was sleeping on the floor. And apparently Smokey decided to start sniffing Zach's face. That's what woke him up. So found him. He was in Zach's closet. And no, he was freaked. There's no way I was going to try picking him up. So I told Zach, I said, put something behind him, scare him out of your closet. I put a blanket across the top of the steps so he had nowhere to go except for into my room. And he come running out, went running into my room, and disappeared again. In my room somewhere. But at least he was in my room. So I went to sleep, blocked the door so he couldn't open it. And I woke up. I still hadn't seen him. And I finally found him. I had a bag of clothes. I had a bunch of boxes all together, and there was a clear garbage bag full of clothes. Somehow he wedged himself underneath that, and that's where he was hiding. He was hidden so well, I couldn't find him. And I just started going through my boxes, and there he was. And I think it was later that day he finally decided to come out. Very, very skittishly. It took him a long time to get used to the new setup. He did not like change. And it wasn't as bad when we moved here, but even still, it's like he didn't want to get in his carrier, but it was a lot easier this time. It wasn't as difficult. I didn't get all scratched. I was prepared this time. I gotta take a break. Okay, this is going to be difficult now. I got to talk about Smokey. I said in the last video that I wasn't going to be able to get through it, so I wanted to wait for a while, but I'm getting worse, not better. His passing has destroyed me, mostly because it was my fault, and I will explain why it was my fault, you'll understand. So it actually started in Wingham. I had so much crap, which I'm working on getting rid of now, but I always end up with the smallest room. I got boxes and boxes and boxes of clothes that I just don't wear anymore. I've never gotten around to getting rid of them, which I'm doing now. But stuff that doesn't fit anymore. And now that I put on weight, I've got even more that doesn't fit anymore. I've got clothes that I was still able to wear as a teenager, because I've always been the same size, right? But I have 2 pairs of pants that I made. They're corduroy. They were on sale one day. I saw a kid wearing 2 colored jeans. One half was black, the other half was gray, and I thought they were so cool, but I couldn't find anything like that. So I decided to make my own. Now, the easiest way to explain it. I learned how to sew from my mother. And when I first moved into the motel, I was bored out of my mind. I had nothing to do. So I took apart a pair of pants and figured out how they were made, and I put them back together, all by hand. Just because I was so bored, right? I actually did a good job. So I had experience with that. And so what I did was I bought 2 pairs of corduroy pants. One was dark blue, one was gray. And I took them apart, front and back. So the front is still all one piece and the back is all one piece. So I switched them around. So I put them back together. So I had 2 pairs. One was dark blue at the front, one was gray at the back, and the other one was gray at the front and dark blue at the back. I still got those. I did that. I was like 23 or something. I'm 58 now, and I still have them. And up to this last year, I could still wear them, because I've always been the same size, but now that I put on weight, they don't fit anymore, so they're going. But I've just got so many boxes and boxes and boxes of clothes. I got a garbage bag full of socks. And the reason I have that is because when I was living in the trailer, I couldn't really afford to do laundry, when I needed to. So I was constantly buying socks, right? I had all these socks piling up. And then 4 times a year, I'd go down, visit my parents, and I always left around 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd stop in Simcoe at a 24-hour laundromat. I'd have like 6 bags of laundry to wash. And then I'd go walk the trails or whatever until, a decent time. Then I'd go visit my friends and my parents. And then I'd go back home and the laundry's done. But because of that, I'd a pair of socks every day. I had to keep buying socks because I was running out. So I've got all these socks now. And they've sat for so long, the elastics were all crapping them out. So I got at least 1 garbage bag full of socks. Just socks. Full. So it's going. But I learned from Smokey that he needs a place to hide when we move. So I have a very large bedroom here now. Like the largest room that I've ever had, even as a kid. My bedroom when I grew up was 8 by 12. Not a very big room at all. But I didn't have a lot of stuff, and there was the basement and everything where my stuff was. But I didn't really have a lot. Even when I moved out, I didn't have a lot to take with me. But when I moved into the trailer, I gave a lot of stuff away. And I started accumulating again when we were in Hanover. So I got boxes. Well, you've seen the video, you know, my heartbroken video where I was talking about Smokey passing. You saw the video. All those boxes that were stacked up in my room. That's not everything. That's just what was in my room. So when we moved here, I knew Smokey was going to need a place, and thankfully, I was able to be with him the night that we brought him here. But I had a closet. I didn't have a closet in Wingham. So that was nice. So what I did was all my bags of clothes I put in the closet, and I just kind of opened some and just spread the clothes all over the place so he could tunnel into it if he needed to. And I put his carrier in the closet with the door open so he could come out whenever he's comfortable, and he's got a place to hide. And that's where it was. That became his room. That's where he would spend most of his time. So the actual problem that caused his death started in Wingham. And the reason I'm talking about the small rooms, because I didn't have room for everything I needed to have room for in Wingham. So I bought a bunch of these shelves, and I had them along the wall. And between the last shelf and the door is where his food and water was. And then on the other side of the shelf, between two of these, I had his litter box. And my bed was set up on the back wall with the window, and it blocked a lot of that one shelf and part of the litter box. So it was really, really difficult to reach the litter box, and with my back issues and that, it was difficult to really keep it clean. So I didn't do too bad. I did worse here, but I didn't do too bad. But it'd be like several days before, I could get to it. And I couldn't clean it where it was. I'd have to pull it out and just kind of clean up around it, and then, do it, clean it out, and then put it back. And it was a chore for me, just because of my back issues. So Smokey was peeing different places, and he, like I've said before, he had a plastic fetish. Him and Scooby both. Scooby was eat the plastic pine needles off the Christmas tree, right? He loved plastic. He'd lay on plastic. Smokey, I don't know if he got that from Scooby, or if it's just what he did, but he loves plastic too. He licks it, he lays on it, he pees on it. So downstairs, anytime there was a plastic bag on the floor, he'd pee on it. He'd pee different places, and it got to be very, very annoying. And I kind of, because he's afraid of everybody, I kind of got the impression that he was marking his territory because he saw everybody else as an adversary, right? That was my impression. So we moved here, and it got to be the same thing. He'd use his litter box. He'd pee in the litter box, but he was peeing other places too. Especially at the bottom of the stairs. He'd constantly peeing at the bottom of the stairs, so I was constantly having to clean it up. But it was just Ken and I upstairs. Everybody else would come up the stairs, so at the bottom of the stairs, to me, that's where his adversaries are coming from, right? So he's marking his territory at the entrance. And I assumed that's what it was. Now, if you remember, I had some technical issues with my computer. I lost a hard drive before we moved here. I lost 2 more here, and my computer itself is. So I got behind in my whole life is in my computer. I got behind in everything. And I was trying to catch up. My health is worse now. And the litter box was always last on the list of things to be done. And it got really bad several times. Bad to the point where it was mud. Like, he'd still use it, but, you know, he'd leave footprints, muddy footprints when he left. That's how bad it was. And I knew this, and I felt so bad for him, but it just... I could only do so much at a time. It hurt so much. I can't stay on my knees for long anymore. And it hurt so much to do it physically that it's just, I only did a little at a time, and I just add fresh kitty litter to it. And I'd come in my room and I'd see it, and I says, oh crap, I forgot to clean that. I'll try to get that for you tomorrow. And it just kept getting put off and put off. Yeah, at one point, he developed a skin condition. He started getting these clumps of fur. They were just all matted together in different clumps, different places. And it was getting difficult to pet him because I don't know if it was itchy or if it hurt, but he didn't like being touched on his back. And if I move his fur forward, it was like yellow, crusty stuff on his skin. So he's having some kind of skin issue. I didn't know what it was. Now, I gotta say, given what I've told you already about putting him in a carrier, I couldn't take him to the vet. That reason there, I don't have transportation. The only way I could do anything is to get Zach to take me. He's working, except for weekends. The vet's not open weekends. So I wasn't able to take him to a vet to get him, you know, examined or whatever. But I got thinking, I bet you his litter box is causing his skin irritation. And I already had that in my head, you know, that this is a problem for him. So I completely emptied it. I didn't scoop it like I normally would. I dumped it into bags, into shopping bags. And several of them. Cleaned it out and put fresh kitty litter in it. And I made it a priority. And that lasted like 3 days. And then it just got neglected again. And he started seeking out new places to sleep in the room. And he started jumping up on the shelves. I got these shelves in my room here too, just so I don't have a lot of clutter on the floor. And he was sleeping in different places. In the corner, where two of these shelves come together at a 90-degree angle, it's open in the corner. And he climbed through the shelves. That became his new spot. He'd still sleep in the closet. He'd sleep on the floor, like directly on the floor behind one of the garbage bags. And I had one box in the corner, and then I had 2 boxes stacked beside it. I put some, I think it was track pants I had in there, something soft that he could lay on. He'd lay on that, and he'd lay on top of the other box. So there's 3 different places that he'd sleep in there. And at the other end, the open end, where the doorway is, that's where his food and water was. And he started sleeping in all these different places. He'd sleep under my bed, whatever. I always knew where he was because I could hear him snoring. So I always knew where he was when he was sleeping. And he only snored when he was sleeping. And then he started sleeping. I made that window perch for him. And he started sleeping in the window. He spent all his time in the window, all his time. And I kind of thought maybe the cool air was soothing to his skin irritation, and there were times when it was sunny, maybe the sun made it feel good. But he spent all his time there. And he'd come out of the window, he'd jump down, he'd go grab something to eat or something to drink, then he'd go use the litter box again, and then he'd go back to his window. And that went on for a while. Ow. And then he started clearing the shelves, let's say. Knocking everything off the shelves. Looking for new places again. And any cat owner that's had a cat with a problem, you'll know that's red flags. When they start seeking places that they've never been, places where they're secluded, hiding, hidden, whatever, hidden from view, that's a red flag. They know they have an issue, and they want to be away from everybody. So, I was concerned, but not fearful, not aware of what's happening, I guess you could say. So he'd have his daily food, his regular dry food. He'd have a bowl beside it with his treats. He'd get Temptations, and he'd get Party Mix. I would alternate between the two. Once I finished one bag, then I'd start the other. He'd get a handful of that. And then every Sunday and Thursday, he'd get a can of wet food. Well, the last can of wet food I gave him, he never even touched. So I'd alternate between pate, which is this really gross stuff, stinky stuff, and shredded in gravy. Now, the pate, he never even touched it, and that's so unlike him. So that was kind of alarming to me, but it never clicked. So I got rid of it because it started attracting flies or whatever. And then the next one came, I gave him the shredded. He drank all the juice out of it, but he didn't eat the food. And he's not finishing his treats like he normally does. So then, for 3 days, he never ate at all. He was still drinking, but he wouldn't eat at all. So I knew he was having a problem. And I was kind of preparing myself. And on that 3rd day, he started, his breathing was labored. He was in the closet. I could hear him breathing. And it wasn't like his normal snore. This was different. So I went and checked on him. And I was petting him, rubbing him under his chin. And he was purring. So, well, it can't be that bad, right? But his breathing is just really bad. So I knew I was gonna lose him. But I had no idea what was happening. I should have. The signs were there. But he was in that spot on the floor in the closet, or he was in the corner between the shelves, or he was on top of that, the 2 stacked boxes in the closet. Those are the 3 places he was now spending his time. And cats don't understand words, but they understand repetition. They recognize patterns. And when I'd leave my room, if I'm just going to make a coffee, I'd say, "Go and make a coffee, bud, I'll be right back." Sometimes he'd follow me, sometimes he wouldn't. If I'm making food, I said, "Go make food and coffee," he'll follow me. because I put my coffee on first because it takes the longest, and then I get my food ready. And once the coffee's done, then I'll start the microwave up. They're on the same plug, so I don't, or same outlet, so I don't want to, blow the breaker. And if I have spare time, as soon as I stop moving, he'll meow at me because he wants his massage. He'll get his body massage. I'd rub his whole body, head to tail, in circles like this. All his loose fur would come out. It'd be all over the place, but he'd be purring away. And then I'd do his cheeks, and his head's bouncing back and forth, and he just loved it, up and down his chest and the front of his legs. He just loved it, right? So he knew if I had time, while I'm waiting for my coffee to finish, as soon as I stop moving, I'm not doing anything, now's the time, and he'd start meowing. He wants his massage. He just loved it. And then, what else was there? If I was going out, I'd start getting dressed to go out. He knew that. I didn't have to say anything to him. He knew that. He knew I was going out just because I'm getting ready. But I'd say to him, I'm heading out for a bit, bud. I love you, see you when I get back. And he wouldn't move. He'd stay exactly where he is. Because he knew I was going out. And I'd come back and he's still in the same place. And the other thing that he knew was when I'm heading to the washroom, if I gotta sit, I would say to him, heading to the washroom, bud, you coming? And he'd immediately come out from wherever he is, and he'd get to the washroom before me. So when we were in Wingham, when he was a kitten, he started going to the washroom with me. He always followed me to the washroom. But I don't know when it started, but when we were in Wingham, he'd jump up on my lap. After I sit down, I'd pull my pants up over my legs. He'd jump up on my lap, and I'd give him a massage from behind. He's kneading my legs. That's why I can't have bare legs, because that really hurts. And I'd put my arms around him, I'd click my thumbnail, like that. And he'd slow down with his knee, and he'd just put his nose up to my thumbs and just watch. And every once in a while I'd flip my thumb up and bunk him in the nose. And he'd go back and he'd wait for it again and bunk. It never bothered him. He loved it, right? But then once his weight doubled, for whatever reason, like I said, it's like nothing changed. I didn't change foods. Excuse me. He wasn't eating more. Just all of a sudden, whatever reason, his body just doubled in weight. And he got chubby. So he wasn't able to jump up anymore. And so he'd sit beside me, and I'd pet him. I'd reach down and pet him there. So when we were here, the same thing, right? So the neighbor next door here, he gave me a footstool. I put it beside the toilet, and after a while he finally realized he could get up on it. And he'd keep his feet on the stool, and he'd put his front paws up on my leg, and then I'd pet him from there. And that was our new routine that way. At least he could get up here part way, right? Sort of almost, what we used to have before. And he'd get bored with that. Not bored with it, but it just, he can't hold himself up that long. So he'd be on the floor, he'd be grooming himself. Or he'd go in the bathtub, he'd lay in the bathtub, especially in the summertime where it was nice and cool. He'd lay in there. Or he'd stand over by the door and start licking the shower curtain. Plastic, right? I'd be sniffing around. He'd open the cabinet door and snoop around inside there. Just different things. But he had to be with me in the washroom. And he knew what that phrase meant. Heading to the washroom, are you coming? He knew what that meant. Just from repetition, right? So that was our routines. He was part of everything I did, and he remembered from Wingham that if I'm laying down, he can't sit on my stomach because that really hurts, and my battery's about to die. Okay, I'm running off my power bank now, so hopefully I don't have a flashing battery anymore, so hopefully we'll be good now. So he got to know patterns. He knew what certain things meant. With Nikita, when I called him when we were outside or whatever, I'd make kissing sounds, but now that I don't have teeth, I can't do that anymore. So with Smokey, it was like that. That would get his attention. He knew I'd want his attention. Or I'd pat my knee. He knew what those meant. He meant, come here, I want your attention. And he knew the word no. Most of the time, the word no meant, don't pee there. But he understood that. But like, I remember what I said. I'm all winded now from going upstairs. But when I was laying on my laying, he knew he couldn't get on my stomach because it hurt. But if I'm sitting up and I don't have the keyboard on my lap, he knows he can lay on my lap, which he does. And I'd pet him from there, give him some attention or whatever. If I'm watching TV or whatever, I'd set the keyboard aside. When he wanted attention, he'd come to me. And he'd just kind of lay across my lap with this, kind of like resting his arm on my lap like this. I have a picture of him in the box where Scooby decided he wanted to be. And I got a picture of Smokey in the box, same thing, got his arm over the edge, just relaxing, right? He'd do that on my lap. And when I go to bed, I say, good night, buddy, love you. And he'd come over to me, he'd lay beside me. And sometimes he'd flip so his stomach is exposed, and I'd just kind of, rub his belly a little bit, as I'm trying to get to sleep. Just different things that we used to do. And, that's how things went. Like I say, cats don't know words. They don't know what words mean. But if you repeat the same things over and over, they know what it leads to. And cats have really good memories. They don't remember everything. They only remember what's important to them. They remember what good things are, and they remember what bad things are to avoid. But they wouldn't stop peeing different places. So I caught him a few times. Like I say, even though the litter box was as bad as it was, he was still using it. But he was peeing in the closet. I've heard him peeing. I actually heard it. And I'd scold him for it, right? I said, you don't pee in there, dude. I said, you sleep in there, your food is in there. Right? You're smelling the place up. But he was doing that for a reason. So I was into the washroom one day, and I said to him, he was in the closet, he was on his top box, and his breathing was already bad at this time. And I said to him, I said, heading to the washroom, bud, you coming? He looked at me. I went. I stood in the door for a bit and waited. He wasn't coming. So I closed the door, sat down, waited. Now, if he's really, really comfortable, if he's been in a place for a while, he's all nice and comfy and warm. Sometimes he won't get up right away, and I'll sit down, and then he'll show up at the door and he'll start meowing. It's like, oh, great. So I was expecting it. He never showed up. So that said a lot to me. But I just figured, he's comfy where he's at. He's nice and warm. He doesn't want to get up. So, next day, he was in the corner between the two shelves. And I could see him. Because on the bottom of this one, there's boxes here. It's like a square where he was laying. There's boxes here. The shelf is here, and I've got spools of discs on the bottom shelf, and he climbed through there to get to it. So I was heading to the washroom. I said to him, I said, heading to the washroom, bud, you coming? And I could see him look out through these discs, so he knew. I waited for a second, he didn't move, so I said, okay, he's not going to follow. So I went to the washroom. I waited, nothing, closed the door. As soon as I sat down, I heard a noise outside the door. So I opened the door, and there he was. Didn't meow. He just laid down outside the door. And so I opened the door, he came in. He didn't come over to the toilet, he just laid in the middle of the floor. And he's struggling to breathe. I still don't understand why he did it. I think he knew, he wanted that one last time with me, right? I don't know. But when I finished, I laid on the floor beside him. He had his typical position. He's laying down, he's got his feet out to the side and his two paws forward. It's his typical position. He always lays in that position. And so I laid beside him. I started petting under the chin. The only place I could really pet him, that wasn't painful or itchy for him, where his skin wasn't irritated. And he stayed with that for a while, and he's purring away. He's struggling to breathe, but he's purring. And I started crying. I thought he was going to die. He was in that bad a shape, which is why it surprised me he followed me to the washroom that one last time. But he's laying there. I told him, I said, I love you, buddy. It's okay if you need to go. Don't fight it, just go. Don't suffer. And he looked at me, I don't know, because I was crying. Because a lot of times, he'd come over to me if I'm watching something funny and I start laughing. I'm laughing to the point of tears. He'd come running over to me meowing and says, okay, buddy, I'm not crying, I'm laughing, right? He was always in my face when I'm laughing, because, I don't know why, but I don't know if he thought I was crying or what. But he looked over at me and was like, it's okay, buddy. So I got up, I opened the door. He sat up, but he wasn't moving. He sat up, but he was just staying where he was. So I picked him up and I carried him back into the room. I set him down, he went back into the corner. And that was the last time I saw him. So I was sleeping days at this point. I was trying to get a food delivery, and nobody was taking my order because of the weather. Nobody wanted to drive in this weather. So what I was doing was I'd wait till noon, because I had to stay awake. And if nobody picked up my order by noon, then I'd cancel it and I'd reschedule it for the next day. And then I'd go to bed. And the second day I did that, that's when this happened. And noon came along, nobody had picked up my order, so I canceled it and rescheduled. And then I went to bed. And then about 3 o'clock I woke up to this horrible meow from him, this just awful scream. And I was instantly awake. And I tried to got up, tried to figure out where he was. I could hear him flopping around under the bed. And that was his final struggle. Now, what bothers me most about that is I wasn't there with him at the end. By the time I got to him, he wouldn't have known I was there. So I Googled what had happened. I looking for, exact cause or whatever. I just wanted an idea what could have happened, and it came out with so many different possibilities. Nothing really made any sense. But then I got thinking about the litter box again, and I did some research on how a neglected litter box will affect a cat. Everything it listed, he was suffering from. So all of a sudden I realized he died because of me. Some of the early warning signs that the cat doesn't like the litter box is they have dry stool, which he had because they don't want to use it, so they'll hold it as long as they can, and it gets over dried, and then they struggle to poop, which he was. I'd hear him squeaking as he's pushing, trying to get it out. I've heard that for a while. They start peeing other places, which he was doing. They'll pee on the bed or piles of clothes, which he was peeing on piles of clothes in the closet. And he's stepping in the litter box. Like I said, he was leaving muddy footprints. That's how bad it got sometimes. And how do cats clean their paws? They lick it, right? It caused skin irritations, which he had. The ammonia from it can cause sinus infections and irritations. That would explain his sneezing fits that would give him bloody noses. And eventually it destroyed his immune system. And once that happened, it was only a matter of time before pneumonia set in, which is what I think he died from. That would explain his labored breathing and the puddle of clear liquid around his face when he finally went. All the liquid in his lungs came out. I feel so guilty right now because I could have prevented it, but because of my health and because I was so busy, too many other things were priority. I will never forgive myself for it. So now I'm kind of cleaning up. I already gave away all this food. I had 2 new types of treats for him that he never got a chance to try. I'm cleaning out the closet right now, and it's so difficult because I feel like I'm getting rid of his memory. But it's got to be done. And just the smell in there. He was peeing in there a lot more than I thought he was. But I can deal with the smell. It's just, I hate taking those clothes out of there because they were his. And I feel like I'm getting rid of his memory. It's killing me to do that. But it's got to be done. Because when we move again, I do not want to have to take that stuff again. Time to get rid of it. It's going to be hard to take his window perch apart. That's going to kill me. And the litter box I'm leaving till last. It's right there by the door. I see it when I go out. I see it when I come back, reminding me what I did.
Alright. Let's go.
Okay, I can be heading out with Zach in a little bit, so I gotta finish this off. So, I had no way of getting anywhere. So I had Smokey in the freezer for a while, and Zach's my only option. So if I have nowhere to bury him or anything, so if I went to wing him, it would have cost $58 to have him cremated. I didn't have to make an appointment, but it had to be a weekday, and Zach wasn't able to find a ride into work to let Martin use his car to take me in. So I had to go to Listowel. They're open Saturdays. Zach could have taken me, but they're $140 just for cremation. $140. But it's a big place. It's a franchise. It's Heartland. So that's what I had to do. And they weighed him, and because he's overweight, he's over a certain weight, it costs more. Like, why? So it cost me $160 instead of $140. Just to have a cat cremated. It's insane. So I got that, and I got a card from, I'll show you this up close. I got a card from them. I'm not going to be able to read it, but I'll show a screen capture of it. I'll take a picture of it. I like the cover. I like the picture of the cat on the front. It's kind of cool. But they sent me an ink print of his paw. Now, if you watched the video that I did on Jax, the YouTube cat, and the problem he had, he went through Pet Angel, he got his ashes, and his paw print, it was not his paw print. It was not Jax's paw print. Jax was a polydactyl cat. He's got an extra toe, or a thumb basically. He had 7 toes, okay, not the normal. So he knew it wasn't his, and that put into question, you know, were those actually Jax's ashes that were in that urn, right? So I didn't keep Smokey's ashes. The only cat I've ever done that with is Nikita. I have Nikita in a ceramic urn up in my bedroom. He's in a cat flower pot. I'll show you a picture of it. It's really cute. And he's the only cat I've ever done that with, because he, like I said, he was my angel. He was my special cat. And I've got that. And I have whiskers. I have a lock of his fur. His toys that he used to, I've got his patooey. I've got his little spiral black and white wire. And I can't remember what else. I got a few things that I kept from him. I'm not even sure. I'll have to look. I'm not sure what all I kept. But Smokey do things. I don't think this is Smokey's paw print, which is why okay, they got 2 of them left and right. I didn't even realize that till now. I don't think these are his for 2 reasons. One, they're too small. Okay, this does not look like his paw print. It's just too small. And second, Smokey had a lot of fur in between his toes. That fur did not transfer ink to this. I don't think these are his. I think these are generic. I don't care. I'm not upset about it. I will keep these. It's a memory. That's all it is to me. It's just a memory. I don't think they're actually his, but I don't care. I don't care. I just don't care. They're memories. But I've been looking. I found one claw shed from Smokey. They should be all over my bed. When I found them before, I'd throw them out, because if my blanket gets pulled to the side and the mattress is exposed, he'll claw it. He'll claw at it. You know, like a scratching post. That's the only time I ever seen him scratch, is my mattress, which is fine because it's mine. He's not damaging, you know, the building or anybody else's property. But like I've explained before, the mattress I have is too small for the bed. It's the right length, but it's not the right width. So I've got about that much space between the blanket and the other side of the bed, and I've got a blanket down there that's got his fur all over it, which is really difficult because I threw out a sweater that was in the closet that was just completely covered with his fur, and it hurt me to throw that out. Because like I said, I feel like I'm getting rid of his memories, right? But I did. I threw it out. I can only keep so much, right? But I'm trying to find claw sheds from him that I can hold on to, and whiskers. I have not found a single whisker from him. Nikita had whiskers everywhere. He was constantly shedding his whiskers. But I haven't found any. I'll keep my eyes open trying to find one. Little tufts of fur here and there I'm keeping, if I can find them, from Smokey. But it is so hard. And I'm feeling so much guilt right now, knowing that he died because of me. And it's been a month, exactly a month today. About an hour from now it'll be exactly a month. And I'm not getting over it. It's destroyed me. I feel so guilty. And it's not fair that he died and I'm still here. So I hate this world. I hate what's happening in this world, where it's headed. And I'm praying every day now that God will take me in my sleep, because I can't deal with the guilt that I'm feeling. And I don't want any more. So don't misunderstand. I'm not suicidal. That's not even in the equation. I just don't want to be here. I want to die in my sleep. Brokenhearted, whatever. I don't care. I've had enough of it. And I'm not interacting with the world anymore. This will be my last YouTube video. I'll still be doing the fire department videos, that's it, because I'm not talking in them, I'm not interacting, basically. But this is going to be my last video here. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm just going to, I don't know. Because it's getting harder and harder. Like I say, it's been a month. It's still fresh. It's like it's only been a few days. And I can't function. I can't deal with it. I can't deal with knowing what I've done. I don't know what else to say. Thank you, everybody, for all your help and support over the years on this channel. I thank you for that. But I just can't go on doing this. So I'm just gonna kind of I don't even know what to say. Continue my life without YouTube, I guess. So that's why I said I'm not getting another cat. I can't financially take care of them when I need to, and I can't deal with their death. And obviously, I can't give them what they need anymore. So, no more pets for me. None. I'm just finished. I'm not the same person now that I was. And I don't think that's going to change. If anything big happens, I might give some kind of an update video or something, but as far as regular videos, though, I'm done. I just can't do it anymore. Because I can't live with what I've done. I just can't deal with it. And anytime I'm watching a TV show or something and I laugh, I feel guilty and I stop laughing. I shouldn't be happy. And if that goes away, it's going to be a long time. I still talk to him when I think about him. I tell him I love him. I tell him I'm sorry. I miss him so much. I need him here. But, I can't forget him. He was part of everything I did. So anything I do, he's not there. He's gone. I don't know what else to say. So I really didn't want to talk about him again, but I had to do this. I have to express my guilt. Because I mentioned that it was my fault. I need to explain why. So, I guess that's it. I'm still looking for a specific video I wanted to end this with, but I can't find it. It's not titled in any specific way to make it obvious. I wanted to show the video where I was giving him the knuckle in the ear, but I can't find that. So I have another one that I'm going to show Smokey catching his mouse. I didn't show him eating it. I just show him catching it. So I'll end with that one. I guess that's it. So I'll still, if you have questions or comments or whatever that you want to make on this video, I'll still answer them like a month, 2-3 months from now. Just be aware that I'm not getting notifications from YouTube anymore when I get comments. The only time I really see them is if I specifically look for them. And I usually do that when I'm about to upload another video. When I go to the YouTube studio, I'll say, oh look, a comment. I never got notification for it. That's why it takes so long for me to get back to respond to them. Because I don't know they're there. I'm not getting notifications anymore. So, if you have a question asking how I'm doing or whatever, I'll respond to it. Just understand that it might take a while for me to find that comment. But I'm done. I can't do any more of this. I guess that's it, guys. I can't think of anything else, so I guess I'll end here. I'll show you Smokey catching a mouse.
I can remember when you fit in the palm of my hand. Felt so good in it, no bigger than a minute. And how it amazes me, you're changing with every blink, faster than a flower blooms. They grow up all too soon. So let them be little, 'cause they're only that way for a while. Give them hope, give them praise, give them love every day. Let them cry, let them giggle, let them sleep in the middle. Oh, just let them be little. I've never felt so much in one little tender touch. I live for those kisses, prayers and your wishes. And now that you're teaching me things only a child can see, every night while we're on our knees, all I ask is please let them be little, 'cause they're only that way for a while. Give them hope, give them praise, give them love every day. Let them cry, let them giggle, let them sleep in the middle. Oh, just let them be little. So innocent, a precious soul. You turn around, it's time to let them go. So let them be little, 'cause they're only that way for a while. Give them hope, give them praise, give them love every day. Let them cry, let them giggle, let them sleep in the middle. Oh, just let them be little. Let them